Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Workamping Q&A session. It is now November of 2022. This year is flying by. So again, I'd like to thank you for joining us. I'm Jody Anderson Duquette here. I'm the Executive Director at Workamper News. I've been with Workamper News for 16 or 17 years now. And I myself am an RVer as well. My husband and I have been RVing since about 2013. We've had a fifth wheel and a Class C motorhome, and now we have a travel trailer as we're just doing some part-timing, as Workamper News takes up a lot of our time. So I'm familiar with living the RV lifestyle and the highs and lows of that, and I've been working with Workampers and the employers that hire them for a long, long time now. So Workamper News itself has been in operation since 1987. We actually created the term work camping and started this community. Workamper.com is our online home, which you guys may be familiar with. I know some of you who are listening in, you're already members of ours, which we super appreciate, while some of you guys who are on the live webinar or maybe watching this recording aren't familiar with us yet. And so I'm going to go over a little bit about what we do and the resources and tools available on our website. I promise this isn't just a commercial for all of that. We have lots of good questions submitted in ahead of time. So that's probably going to take up easily an hour. I really like to talk about this stuff, so I'm going to give you guys lots of good information today. So we'll probably run about an hour. Those of you who are live with us on the webinar, feel free to put your questions in. If you do have questions or comments while we're going along today, you can submit those in. You should have a control panel there on your screen with a questions or chat section to type in, or if you're on a smartphone or tablet, you'll have that questions option on the bottom of your screen. And if you're on a smartphone or tablet, you can swipe between my talking face and my PowerPoint. So just swipe, left or right on your device to go in between, either watching me yap away or looking at the PowerPoint. So we are recording this webinar and we'll make that available to those who registered. We'll send you an email with the link. I'll also put this in the media library at workamper.com and our YouTube and Vimeo channels. If you are watching this on YouTube or Vimeo, if you go down into the description, I'm going to break out all the different questions and the timestamps for each. So if there is a specific question you're wanting to jump to, just look down in that description and you can jump right to those specific questions. So, all right. So yes, Workamper News, we are the #1 resource to help work campers learn about this lifestyle, as well as connect to the large amount of work camping opportunities that are out there. We defined the term. We've been at this for the longest, so we have the widest variety and largest number of opportunities available. And we also understand that to be successful, you guys need to know what you're doing. And so we put a lot of focus in education, whether it be articles, videos, courses, podcasts, etc., because we want you to be successful and not encounter hurdles and all of that stuff. So we do put a lot of focus into our educational resources as well as our job finding tools. So we're kind of the best toolkit, one-stop shop to get you guys going in this lifestyle and help you succeed at it. So we hope you'll consider becoming members if you haven't already. I'd like to extend a special offer to those of you on the live webinar or watching this recording. If you do join, renew, or upgrade to a yearly membership with us, go ahead and use the promo code webinar4, and that'll give you 4 free bonus months onto that 1-year membership. And I'm making that available for you for about a month until the end of December of 2022. So go ahead and jot that note down, so when you do join or renew or upgrade soon, you can get a little bonus there. So, all right, good variety of questions today. Definitely some questions from folks who are just learning about the lifestyle to some folks who are already living it and just kind of need a little more guidance on a few things. So we're going to cover a lot today. You guys like my cool cup? It's got trailers on it. Isn't it cute? All right. Okay. If we are interested in becoming work campers, how do we register? Who do we speak with? Do you need to register with a company? These are all good questions. And as someone brand new, you might think there's something more official when, there's kind of not. So As we talked about, Workamper News, we are a membership organization. Folks do not have to be a member of Workamper News to take Workamping jobs. There is no official entity to like register with and get a badge or a card or anything that official. Workamping is doing any kind of part-time or full-time work while living in an RV. Could also be running a business too. So it's really a broad definition. There's no, specific jobs you have to take or specific compensation that you have to receive. It is just totally open. And that's what's so great about it, is there's so many different types of opportunities available that you're able to, most of the time, find, stuff that matches your, where you want to be, stuff you're okay doing or you're excited to do. As well as, checking those items off your bucket list, places you want to see, and you get to learn new things and really kind of expand your horizons. But, the opportunities out there are as varied as the different work campers coming into the lifestyle. Some of you have been at one profession for a long time. Some of you have had all sorts of different jobs. Maybe some of you were stay-at-home parents and managed the household and the kids, and, that was a career in itself. So, whatever your background is, wherever you're coming from, whether, you're younger, 20s, 30s, or in kind of the average age, 50s, 60s, or even if you're 70s, 80s, doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. RV type doesn't matter. Background doesn't matter. It's all about just learning how to, create your process for finding the right jobs, understanding who you are and what you're looking for, what your budget needs are, etc. And then just working the process to connect with the jobs that are going to be right for you, okay? And we'll dig into that a little more. But we hope you'll become a Workamper News member. Like I said, we have the most robust resources, the easiest ways for you guys to sort through the job listings and different opportunities that are out there. So we certainly hope you'll become a Workamper News member, make it easier on yourself to find these opportunities and learn about the lifestyle, but you don't need to register officially or anything like that. You will still communicate individually with the employers. If you see a job listing that you like and want to apply to, you'll communicate with that employer directly in whatever their application interview process is. It's really gonna vary. So, all right, moving on to some more questions here. What kind of jobs are available? Where are these jobs? How long are these jobs? What is the pay? Are there RV sites included? And we can do a whole hour, hour and a half. I could probably go 2 hours just on the different kinds of jobs that are available. It really varies. So one thing I want to point out, here's a good resource. I'm going to pop over into my internet browser, guys, just to show you some options here. This is workamper.com. This is our online home. And the first thing I want to point out is not our website. It's our other website here, workampershow.com. So we do a podcast. We are the only podcast for work camping. We've been creating episodes for about 3 years now. We're at 201 episodes. So each new episode comes out every week on Tuesdays. And the episodes are an interview with an employer or work campers living the lifestyle or somebody in the RV industry itself. But sometimes we record episodes as well. So our 200th episode, which just came out last week, myself and my husband, Luke, who also works here at Workamper, it's a family business, we went over 200 different work camping jobs. So we've organized by business type category, and just went through and talked about 200 different work camping jobs. And that's not even like a full list. Like there's a lot of stuff that got left off that we didn't have time to talk about. So I recommend going to the workampershow.com, workampershow.com, or if you listen to podcasts in an app like Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, whatever, just do a search for Workamper Show and we'll pull up and you can listen to any of our episodes in most of the major podcast streaming services. So that's a really good one that will give you a much more thorough answer than I'm going to give you right now. And also as a member, you can get on our website, workamper.com, and start looking through the different job listings that are available, reading articles, etc. And then that's just going to open things up a lot, you'll be able to see more specifically what employers are offering and what's out there. So, all right, let's pop back over to my PowerPoint and I'll dig into this question a little more specifically. There we go. Okay, so most often, the types of businesses that are hiring work campers are RV parks and campgrounds. That's really the most prevalent, but it is certainly not the only thing. So if you don't want to work in RV parks and campgrounds, no problemo, lots of different stuff. There are retail operations, lodges, travel centers, fulfillment centers. Yes, there are lighthouses. That was a question that somebody had asked if there are lighthouses. Michigan and mostly on the West Coast, a little bit on the East Coast, but not as much. There are national park concessionaires. So those are typically going to be retail operations, food service operations, lodging operations that are in and around national parks and monuments that you can go and work for. They often do provide RV sites or housing available. Let's see, what else? You can work for like animal shelters. There are multiple animal shelters. There are a lot of folks now with like property owners that maybe have multiple acres or farms or ranches, etc. They're just looking for a little bit more help on their property, and they have RV site hookups on their property. So you could be maybe a ranch hand or just a property caretaker. And oh gosh, what else? I mean, there are a lot of different volunteer operations, especially so like historical societies. There's a place in Florida where you go and it's a historical society for like pioneer times, and you get to dress up in pioneer garb and like teach school kids how to churn butter and stuff. So there's that. And as far as like RV parks and campgrounds go, that's really going to run the gamut too, because you'll have like, you know, your mammoth resorts that have hundreds or thousands of sites, and they've got activities and events and all kind of stuff like that going on, to like small mom and pop campgrounds that have maybe 10 RV sites, and then you're the only work campers there running the show. There might be, you know, like Forest Service rec areas or camping areas where there's not other RV sites, it's just for tenders, but you know, they'll provide you with utilities so you can be out there in your RV as like the camp hosts. And then there's, you know, the resorts that, the RV parks that cater to like kids, where they've got like splash pads and all kinds of fun stuff to do. So even in just the RV park realm, there's this big variety of different types of RV parks and campgrounds that you can go to work for. So that's just, yeah, it's awesome. Okay, what else can I think of? I said travel center. Amusement parks is another one. There are multiple amusement parks that hire work campers. One really popular opportunity is the sugar beet harvest that takes place in September, October every year in like Minnesota, Michigan, up in that vicinity of the country. That's a popular work camping opportunity. You're working at the fulfillment, the receiving stations. That's what it's called. The farmers bring their beets in and pile them up, and you're there to help out with that. You're not working in the fields or anything like that. I think there's a potato harvest too that kind of hires work campers sometimes. Yeah, there are, you could work like a kiosk, a sales kiosk in a mall at Christmas time. Also Christmas geared, there's a company in Knoxville that hires work campers to put up Christmas lights on buildings and houses, and then after Christmas to take them all down. So you guys, there's really just so much out there. So if you're a people person and you want to be, you know, interacting with people, there's going to be opportunities for that. If you're someone who is like a really good handy person and you like, you know, to do a lot of stuff with your hands, there's going to be opportunities for that. If you're like a salesperson, there are certainly opportunities for that as well. We have a couple different entities that like, you know, when you go to campgrounds and you check in and they give you the campground map, and then there's ads for like different businesses in the local area. Well, you could be the person that goes to that area and goes to those businesses to sell the ad space for the campground maps and some other stuff. There's an entity, and I'm thinking kind of now, like if you want to not be so location based, most of our camping opportunities are going to be like a on location type of thing, but there are some that allow you to move around a little bit more, or a few that are remote work out of your RV. So if you do like to move around a little bit more, Southern Cross, they hire work campers to like walk gas lines and check gas lines. I don't really know what for, but they've hired Workampers for a long time. And so you get a lot of steps in with that job, get to move around more. But as far as remote opportunities go, we've seen CoachNet has hired for looking for like people to answer phones on their like technical service lines. There's a website called RV Realtor. It's like a kind of a real estate agent for RVs for sale, and they're looking for folks to work for them. And there are a couple like websites where people can go to make campsite reservations at different campgrounds, and those websites are looking for people to participate and get more people on their website and using their website and stuff like that. So there's definitely remote jobs available as well, but you're not going to see that many advertised to Workampers directly. Most of them are going to be in-person jobs. So that's just kind of a few opportunities. There's certainly a lot more, which you can dive into with these other resources that we have available. Where are the jobs? Everywhere. You want to go to Alaska? Stuff going on up there. Certainly all around the lower 48, the contiguous United States. There are a few states where we don't see, Nevada isn't represented very often, a couple northeastern states that we don't see a lot for, but certainly, Texas, West Coast, Michigan's lots of opportunities in Michigan, Florida, of course, southern states in the wintertime. So it's really more about where do you want to go, and then you find the opportunities where you want to go. How long are the jobs? The shortest I've seen, actually, there's a hotline ad that just got posted today for the Yuma, Arizona area, and it's a porta-clean company that takes like trailers that are like shower houses or bath houses or something and like sets them up temporarily for people to use, and then they get rented and then brought back. So they're looking for someone to just be on call. So when a driver is bringing back one of those rented out trailers, you're the person that meets them and checks it back in and makes sure everything is good to go. So that's just a on call, you do the job whenever you're called to do it. Any time of the day or night, I believe is what the ad said. So that's like that's a very short-term opportunity, but it is, that's a little more of a random, like obviously you're not gonna have a schedule so much, so that might be not best for everybody. But if you're in the area and just wanna make a few bucks here and there, that's a good one. But I've seen a few events like the Houston Rodeo, the Albuquerque Balloon Festival, some shorter, 3 or 4 day events that hire Workampers. There was a Colorado State Park that was like, yeah, we'll take Workampers as short as 4 days. Then that was kind of surprising. I think they were trying something new. So anyway, there are some short term, maybe a couple weeks, but for the most part, it's going to be at least a month, 3 months, or maybe 6 months. Oftentimes the seasonality is a spring summer position, which is going to be like April, May through September, October, or a fall winter job, which will be, September, October through March, April. So that's kind of the main seasonality of a lot of work camping jobs. But again, like I said, if you want to do something more short term, you can. It'll be a little bit harder to find. If you want to do something long term, many of these employers, they are open year round. If you want to go work for them year round, most of the time they're going to be like, awesome, because then they don't have as much turnover. They don't have to train new people, etc. So if you are wanting to be somewhere for a long period of time, cool. Most of the time that's cool. Some of these places close in the winter months if they're more up in those snowy vicinities, as a lot of the entities are like in the outdoor hospitality industry. Tour companies is another one. There's lots of tour companies, kayak rentals, what is it? There's like a wagon train, something or other in Colorado, I think. Up in Alaska, there's fishing tours, dog mushing, boat tours, every kind of tour up in Alaska. So lots of tour companies recruit Workampers as well. Oh, and there's another fun one too. I just thought of Sherry's Crab Cakes. That's a food truck entity, and so you would pull their food truck to different events. I think it's more in the Northeast, and operate their crab cake stand. And they, provide you the food truck and the materials that you need and stuff like that, and you sell their crab cakes at events and stuff. So, there's just so much available out there, guys. You're probably gonna get tired of me saying that, but that's just what it is. You can also like think about what your hobbies are. This one Workamper, Brad, he's really into astronomy, and he actually has his telescope with him in his RV. And so he goes to different like state parks or national park areas that are dark parks, where it's super dark so you can see the sky much, much better. And so he and his wife Joy volunteer with the state park, and so like she works in the visitor center just answering questions and stuffing brochures and stuff like that. But what he does is he would then set up his telescope outside of the visitor center, like on certain days and times, and just talk to the state park visitors, have them look in the telescope, and he shows them stuff in the sky and talks about astronomy and telescopes and stuff like that. Like that was his work camping job. They did that in trade for an RV site at these state parks. So you can work your hobbies into some of these jobs as well if there's things that you really, really like to do. What is the pay? That's going to vary. So we have opportunities where you are just working in trade for an RV site and probably some other kind of non-monetary perks. Oftentimes hookups are included, water, sewer, electric, but you'll want to verify that with each employer that you're applying with. You may find compensation packages where you're going to work X number of hours in trade for your RV site, and any additional hours over that, you'll be paid X dollar amount. There are packages where you are paid for every hour worked, you're provided an RV site and other perks, and maybe there's bonuses available, fun stuff like that. There are a few salaried positions and a couple opportunities I've seen that would include career-like benefits, 401k, paid time off, healthcare, etc. Very few of those opportunities we've seen over the years. Oftentimes that's going to end up being maybe a management position somewhere. So yeah, big variation. You may work on commissions. Here's another one, Christmas tree sales tents. I'm sure you guys have seen those, popped up around whatever community you're in, and oftentimes there's an RV parked there with that sales tent. That could be you someday. So you work with a company and they set you up with that tent, and then you're in charge of operating that sales tent. Oftentimes there's a base amount that's paid to you, and you'll earn commissions on the sales of that tent, but different tree companies do it differently. But it's kind of the same scenario for fireworks sales tents as well as pumpkins in October timing. So then with like the sales positions that we talked about before, selling, the campground map advertising and stuff, that's commission based. So it's going to vary, you guys. So if you are someone who doesn't want to have, reported income, you don't want to receive a W-2 or a 1099, there's certainly opportunities available to you for that. If you are working and receiving wages, you should expect to receive that W-2 or a 1099, depending upon what you're doing for that employer. So you may have some reported income. I could really go down some rabbit trails, guys, but we're probably already like halfway done, and I'm already on the first question. So okay, we'll keep moving on. Lots of other education on the website to really dive you guys into stuff. Are RV sites included? Yeah, pretty much like 90% of the time, advertising employers indicate that an RV site is provided. It may be part of the compensation. It may be available to you, but you might pay a fee, maybe a weekly fee or a monthly fee for that RV site. Typically, it's not going to be like the going rate of an RV site. Like concessionaires in national parks, they lease the campsites from the National Park Service. So since it's a cost to them to lease those sites, they pass some of that cost on to the work campers, and you're paying like $35 a week to stay inside of Yellowstone National Park. Huh, that's chump change, okay? Plus you're being paid for all hours work and stuff. So anyway, most often RV sites are included. If you are not in an RV, maybe you are just cruising around in a vehicle, SUV, tent camping perhaps. There are employers that provide housing. That might be dormitory style, it might be a mobile home, it might be a rental RV, it might be an apartment or a house on site, a park model on site. About 10 to 15% of employers offer housing as well. So it's not a whole lot, but there is some of that available to you out there. Most often employers are going to anticipate you're coming in a hard-sided RV with maybe at least a sink, bathroom, ability to keep food cold, etc. Not all employers are able to provide bathhouses, shower houses, kitchen areas, laundry units and stuff. So sometimes they'll need you to have all of that built into your house on wheels. So again, it's going to vary by the employer and the opportunity. So you just got to dig in and do some research to find the ones that are going to match yourselves in your setup. Okay, next question here. Are there work camping jobs that do not include cleaning and or maintenance? Yes, absolutely. If you're someone who, physically can't be on your feet all the time, you can't be bending, stooping, doing different stuff like that, no problem. There are definitely opportunities out there for you. Just be sure to clarify with the employer, make sure you have a good understanding of the expectations. And if you are someone where you're like, well, I could do some stuff on my feet for a while, but maybe every hour or so I need to be able to sit down for 10 minutes. Just be sure to express those kinds of things to the employer. A lot of employers are able to make accommodations for folks, for different scenarios. If you are in a wheelchair or have a, assisted walking device or whatever your situation is, just be upfront with the employer to see if you can make it work. But yeah, working in the office, working at like hotels, inns, lodges, there's going to be, front desk and stuff operations, doing phone calls, things like that. The couple remote opportunities we talked about obviously would be fine because that's just going to be sitting at a computer and stuff. Oh, another one is Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. So there's at least, 50 or some Jackson Hewitts that are now employer members of ours that seek work campers to assist with the busy tax season. So it's going to be more like January through April opportunities, and that's all just communicating with people and entering stuff into a computer. You don't have to be like an accountant or anything. They have a tax school that you go through to get educated enough to be able to do the tax preparation and stuff. So yeah, absolutely, there are opportunities that are not physical like jobs. Okay, how do I find a job? We had a few folks here that are just like, how do I even go about this whole thing? And is there a way to search for jobs specific by region, by season, etc.? All right, so this is where Workamper News comes in, workamper.com. So I'm gonna pop back over to my internet browser and let's kind of dive in. All right, so once you guys join the website and become yearly members, then you'll have access to the tools. When you get logged in, you come to your dashboard, and the dashboard has the main tools and resources of your membership. And one thing I want to point out here on the dashboard is there's a button for the media library. I don't think you guys can see my mouse moving, but it's over there on the left. It's also under the Workamping menu item media library. So here in the media library, we have recorded jobinars, which are presentations made by employers about their work camping jobs. So you can watch any of those. Workamper interviews, recorded Q&As from before, general videos about RVing. But we have this Workamper training section. And here we have the 12 steps to finding a work camping job. I think I spent like an hour and a half or so going through 12 steps to finding a work camping job. So like I said, we really dig in more to the process, but basically it's, figure out what you need and kind of your wants and desires. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What kind of compensation do you want? And then you start reviewing the different opportunities that are out there, start applying and communicating to the employers that pique your interest and seem to have what you're looking for. You will likely create a resume to then send out. Not all employers require resumes. A lot of them ask for resumes, so it's just going to depend on the employer. Some you'll just talk to them directly. Some there will be an online application process, and it might be a little more of a corporate annoying experience. Again, that whole thing's going to vary by employer. You hopefully will do an interview with the employer where you're talking, hopefully either a phone call or maybe a web call where you're live with the person, able to talk, not just emailing back and forth. So there should be an interview process, and you'll have a list of questions prepared that you can ask to make sure you're getting all the information you need to make the right choice on that employer. You'll use different tools available to you to research and do due diligence on that business, that employer, what previous Workamper experiences were, etc. And then once you have all that information, then it's up to you, is this position going to be right for me? Is it not? If the employer extends, an offer, you say yes or no. If you do say yes, we recommend getting a work agreement between the two of you, laying out all the expectations that both parties will sign. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of the process. But again, this video will take you a little more in depth through all of that. And there's certainly a lot of other good videos in here to watch, making a first impression, all about work agreements. If you're just like, what the heck is a work agreement? What is that supposed to be? There's stuff in here for developing your resume, interviewing, stuff about solo work camping. So just some other good stuff that's here in the media library. But for specifically reviewing job listings, so our two main avenues are our hotline system and our online magazine. The hotline system is a website page, and we do a daily email. So we have new job listings coming in each weekday. One thing that you get as a member with us is us. So we have a staff, we're a professional business. So when new employer members come in, when ads come in, somebody looks at them before they even get to any of our members. So we have had a few spammers infiltrate our system and try to run ads, try to gain access to our resume database, etc. But because we're checking them out just to verify, okay, this is a real business, good. This ad looks normal, good. Because you can tell, some of them are real fishy. Anyway, we have stopped spammers from getting to our members. I know there are other websites and Facebook groups and stuff out there where, you'll see Workamping Jobs listed and stuff. So just be cautious on those free, open to the world websites. If spammers are coming into our paid service, they're certainly out there on free, no staff, no, check process, etc. websites. So just be cautious if you are using those other resources out there. If it sounds fishy and the employer is asking you to send social security information, banking information, etc., hard stop, hard stop. So just be cautious out there. Okay, hotline system. New ads coming in on our hotline page. These are ads from the last 14 days, so they're current. They weren't posted years or months or who knows ago. You see the published date. We also ask the employers a few specific questions when they're submitting their ad. So you'll always be able to clearly see the location of the job, if solos are considered, if an RV site is provided for a fee or not provided, if housing is provided, kind of a snapshot of what the compensation is, and the start date of the jobs. So because we ask employers those questions, thus it gives you the ability to search them more finitely. So you can come up here and use all of these different search fields that I'm showing you here on the top of the page. Check whatever states you're interested in. If you want an RV site, if you're looking for all hours paid, or if you're looking to just work for an RV site and not receive monetary compensation, you can just search on that. If you're looking to start in April, in a certain location, just check those fields. If you're a solo and you just want to look at jobs for solos or employers that consider solos, you can check that box. For solos out there, it's typically 70 to 80% of the employers consider solos. So lots of solo opportunities out there. I think on other resources online, it's a lot of couples needed, but not here. Our employers, a lot of them consider solos. So, plug in your information. If you're looking for a job starting right away, you would do immediately. I'd also recommend, guys, checking this multiple locations box. Multiple locations is employers who have either opportunities that are in multiple states, or it's a position that allows you to travel and move around to different locations. So, check whatever boxes you want that apply and do your search, and it'll show you guys the results. Each weekday, whatever new ads came in that day, we take this full ad text that you see here on the screen and send it to you in an email. It's not just like a little truncated, hey, there's a new ad, and then you have to go to a website, log in, and go to look at it. No, the whole thing comes right to your email inbox. And if you're a Diamond or Platinum member with us, you can turn on job alerts. So if you're like, you're already looking for your next job and you're like, I want to be in Texas, you can go into the manage account page, turn on job alerts just for Texas. Then every time a new ad for Texas is posted or submitted to us, we're going to send that full ad right to your email inbox. So it's, you don't have to be constantly going to our website to be notified of the new ads coming in, especially for those specific states that you guys are interested in working in. Okay. The other main avenue is our magazine. So when Workamper News started, it was pre-internet. So we started as a newsletter that morphed into a magazine. And so we published, I think, 212 issues. We have discontinued the magazine. The November-December 22 issue is the last issue we're going to make. And that's because we are currently working on a complete revamp of workamper.com and our backend systems. So with that new website, we're discontinuing the magazine. We're going to have one main avenue for job listings instead of the 4 or 5 that we have now, just to simplify things, make it easier for our members to search the job listings and find them and connect with them. And it's also less confusing for employers. So while we're not going to make new issues of the magazine, our online archive is certainly, it's the largest archive of work camping jobs that you'll find anywhere, along with a plethora of articles and other resources in each issue. So when you come into the online magazine, there's 100 issues in here. You click on it, it's a PDF file, it's going to open up, and you can go through and look at it. So if we go to page 3 here, every table of contents, there will be a list of states, and that's, so like the job listings for Alabama start on page 50. For Alaska, it's we list them in alphabetical order by state. So you can quickly, oh, I know I want to go to Illinois. Okay, I'm going to click to page 57 and see what the jobs are in Illinois. Or, it's a PDF file, so you can do a keyword search for solo and just see how many instances of the word solo that we come upon. There's a lot of articles in this issue, so it would probably take a while to click into the job listings, but let me just kind of scroll here. So here are how the job listings are in the magazine. So you guys can check those out online. Again, it's kind of the other main avenue for looking at job listings. I would not hesitate to look at past issues. A lot of the employers that we work with have been with us for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, etc. So even if the ad is older, I would give it a try. If it looks like it meets, your check boxes, try contacting that employer and see if they're hiring more campers. And not all employers advertise, you guys. So we do have a resume database as well. Our Workamper members can create a resume via our Easy Resume Builder tool, which we'll take a look at it with another question here in a little bit. So you'll want to get your resume created because we do have some employer members where all they do is search our resume database to find their Workampers. They've never run help wanted ads. So we got to kind of, do both things. And so folks who do, are struggling to find a position, the first thing I always ask is just, what are you doing and what are your methods? And we'll get into that a little bit more later. So hotline jobs, online magazine, featured employers is another page here on our website with multiple employers that have created little informational pages giving you more details about their jobs. So you can peruse through the featured employers and see, oh, Prairie Berry, that's a fun one. That's a winery and brewery in the Black Hills of South Dakota, and they just built a campground on their property just for their Workampers. So, hey, you like wine, you like beer, you like South Dakota? There you go. Win, win, win. All right, okay, so those are the main avenues for reviewing job listings for you to dig into. And as you saw, we are able to kind of, refine down more to the specific opportunities that we're looking to find. So, all right, hopefully we got a good overview on that. Okay, next question here. How do I make a resume that stands out? Definitely, absolutely, very good question. So like I said, most employers would love to have you send them a resume, but not all employers require it. A Workamping resume doesn't have to be as robust as a professional resume. Employers don't necessarily need to know every single job that you've had since you were 14. You really want to focus on, oh, sorry, let me go back to the PowerPoint, guys. My brain just went, hey, haha, there we go. Look at that cute dog. Isn't that cute dog? Okay, resumes. When thinking about the content of your resume, you want to focus on answering the question, what's in it for me? And you're answering that question as if you're the employer. Because the employer is going to pull up your resume and maybe, skim through it, maybe not even read every word. So you want to, as quickly as possible, say what you can do for them that would make them hire you over others. So you want to focus on your skills and what you bring to the table as a work camper, attitudinal, skill-wise, etc. Most often employers are just looking for work campers who are flexible, willing to try hard, willing to be part of the team. A lot of them don't have like specific experience requirements. If they do, they'll typically express that in the ad if you do need to have certain experience. Maybe, managerial positions, they may want specific experience like that. But just think about answering the question, what's in it for me? Because as the employer looking at resumes, that's what they're looking for. So you want to try to make your information like easily readable, easily digestible. So don't have just, big long paragraphs of text where it's all run together. Like they might see that amount of text and be like, oh, that's too much, I'm not even gonna read it. So you want to break up some text, with some paragraphs, try to do some bulleted lists, and include references. That's always a good thing to do. A lot of employers will request photos. It's not technically illegal to request them. You don't have to include photos if you don't want to, that's your choice. The employer may then say, well, then we're gonna need to either do an in-person interview or a web call interview. Oftentimes okay, that's a question we'll get to later. All right, switch brain, okay. Okay, I'm gonna dive in because this is gonna help kind of answer the question too. I'm gonna go back to the internet browser and let's take a look. This is the resume builder at workamper.com. And like I said, you guys, Workamping resume doesn't have to be as complicated as a professional resume. So we've made this easy step-by-step builder where you kind of fill in some blanks, and that's going to generate most of the content that employers are wanting to know. You'll obviously be able to put in your contact information, what RV type that you have. And when you build a resume in our system, know that your resume is only available to our paid employer members. Your resume is not posted to the open internet. No one just browsing our website can find your resume. It's only available to our employers. The availability date is the date you are available to start working. So you want to make sure to put that in there. If you are seeking a position like starting right away, put tomorrow's date. And then if that date passes and you still haven't secured a position, come back into the resume builder, change it to tomorrow, save it. And if you can, just keep moving that availability date forward until you accept that position. The most frequently updated resumes appear at the top of our employer search results. So the more frequently you guys come in here and update your resume, the more often you're showing up higher in the results. And there are thousands of resumes in our database. Employers have a variety of criteria fields that they can use to narrow and search through the resumes, but there are quite a few that are in there. So, and updating is as simple as clicking the save button. Like you don't even have to change anything on your resume, just click the save button and it'll change the updated date to today. So kind of sneaky, but that's how it works. Okay, so availability dates. And this can be working for you year round, you guys. So once you accept your, summer 2023 position, awesome. Come in here, change your availability date to whenever that job ends, change your settings, locations, history, etc., and get your resume set up for fall winter 2023 and have that resume out there working for you all of the time. And we'll talk about timing of applying for jobs here as well. Settings, just kind of check some boxes. Locations. Please be specific here with your locations about which states you actually would be in starting on your availability date. I think some Workampers think if they come in here and check all the states, then that's going to make them, show up more. But oftentimes we've heard from employer members that if they see a Workamper's resume where they've checked all 50 states, the impression that they get is that Workamper is not taking it seriously. And so they would just disregard that resume because the Workamper is not taking it seriously. Anyway, so the states you select are where you want to be in on your availability date. So if you don't want to be in Minnesota and Michigan on November 1st, don't check Michigan. It'd be pretty snowy, and not a lot of RVers like to be in the snow. Anyway, so make your state selections. Canada, there's really not a lot of opportunities in Canada. Sorry, I was going to mention this before. There used to be a thriving Workamping community in Canada many moons ago, but then the government changed some of their regulations, forcing business owners to only hire locally and have to prove a need if they wanted to hire folks from outside of the country. And so it just kind of fizzled out the Workamping community in Canada, unfortunately. There are opportunities out there, but I'm not aware of a resource where you can quickly and easily find those opportunities. Okay, work history section. You can come in here and list past Workamping jobs or past other jobs that you've had. Try not to put a whole lot of text. Like this dummy text that we have here is a little bit long already. So I would be careful with how much text you put in there. But this is a good way to show kind of your work timeline that you've had, especially if they are past Workamping jobs. And another thing that we have available as well to help set your resume kind of, hey, look at me, I'm awesome. Our platinum level membership, this is the main benefit of platinum over the diamond. So with platinum level membership, when you put in a past Workamping job that you've done in the last 2 years, you can check a box then to request for us to verify that job position. So then we will call who you tell us to and say, hey, employer Joe, did Sally and John work for you this date to this date? Okay, super great, thanks. And then we'll come into your resume and mark that work history entry as verified. So we are doing some of the legwork for the employer. So now that employer doesn't have to go and verify that you worked this job, this job, this job, this job. So for platinum members, that's a good way to kind of heighten your resume. We do provide employers with the ability to check a box to say only show me resumes with verified work history. So they do have that option to only look at resumes that have the verified work history. So that's another way to kind of put yourself, at the top of an applicant pile. The sell yourself section here, it's a little more daunting because it's just an open text box where you got to type stuff in. We do have a view sample button over here that kind of gives you an idea of what you could put in. Again, this might even be a little long now, but oh, and with resumes, if there's 2 of you that are applying for the Workamping jobs, then both of you can be on the same resume. Most of the time, employers are totally cool with that. If there are 2 people in your household, but only one of you is applying for the Workamping jobs because the other maybe has another job or doesn't want to work, that's cool. Then you will gear the resume towards yourself, but be sure to mention that there's this other human in the RV with you that will be coming with you. And the same goes if you have kids. Be sure to mention that those, kiddos are along for the ride with you. Okay, so again, like I said, we're going to break it up into multiple paragraphs, maybe do some different sections, put some skills or maybe past work history, past knowledge, etc. in bulleted lists. That's quicker and easier to kind of skim and read. So we've got a sample there for you to model off of. In our article index, so in the media library, you guys saw we had a couple videos on resumes. The article index is another section in our website that you can get to from the dashboard, and we have in active Workampers, is it in this section? We have some articles about resume. Oh, job finding tools. So there's multiple articles in here to help you with your resume. Spruce up your resume, shameless self-promotion, tips for your resume, guide to resumes, etc. So we definitely have some informational stuff there. But you know, you want to kind of have action words in there, not just I did office work. You know, you want to be like actively communicated with customers or dealt with customer concerns, facilitated payroll, managed inventory in the store. You know, kind of it's more actiony instead of just being like I did inventory. You know, you can kind of spice it up a little bit. Another recommendation that I have is put your resume together, and when you're like, okay, I think I got it, send your resume to a few of your friends and be like, hey, would you guys mind reading this for me and just letting me know what you think? You know, they're gonna be able to maybe find typos for you or be like, hey, I think you kind of said this part a little weird, or maybe if you said, you know, oh, I know you're really good at blah, you should maybe include that too, or something like that. So have someone else proofread your resume, because sometimes, you know, typos and just kind of stuff, you know, that we think it looks good and then other people are like, nah. So anyway, have some folks review over your resume. Well, we can take a look at resumes too. I look at resumes and, you know, try to give as best of feedback as I can. That's something that we'll do for our members too. So all right, so photos, like I said, you can put photos or you don't have to put photos, totally up to you. We recommend doing like face picture, picture of your RV, maybe a picture of your pets if you want. We do have some sample photos there. If you record a video and put it on YouTube, you can put the link to that video so it displays on your resume. Once you have your resume completed, you can keep it hidden from the resume database if you want to, or uncheck the box, and that way employers can find it. But once you have it completed, you can look at the resume, how employers will see it. You can print it out if you want to print it, if you want to like take it to somebody or mail it to somebody. You can email your resume to anybody that you want to, or you can save as a PDF, like maybe you're doing an online application process and there's a place for you to upload a resume. You can make it into a PDF. So when we look at the view of our resume, it takes, oh, and of course my photos aren't showing up. So this is a cache issue with Chrome. Normally the pictures, I mean, you guys saw, sorry, it's a Chrome issue. Chrome doesn't like us sometimes. Okay, there's my video. Here's my sell yourself section with my skills. And here's all the information that we entered in those tabs. So you don't have to duplicate your information into the Sell You because we put it all together for you. So yeah, that's our awesome resume with our broken photos. But that's just me. Employers would see the photos just fine. Website stuff, it's fun. Okay, so that's the resume builder, guys. You're welcome to use this tool as a member or not, up to you. But if you're just going to create maybe a little resume on your computer or whatever, just keep it simple. Contact information, skills, references, work history. The employer just wants to know what's in it for them. Just try to, you know, write in complete sentences as best you can, you know, spell check, that kind of stuff. You just want to try to make as good of a first impression as you can. And also follow up. So it can be super frustrating to apply to Workamping jobs and not hear anything. That's something that's been going on forever and ever. It's just kind of part of it. But once you send your first inquiry, whether that first inquiry is you're emailing your resume, maybe you called and left a message, maybe you filled out an online application process, if you have another contact point for that employer, wait a little bit, and it kind of depends. So if the job is starting immediately and you send your inquiry and you don't hear back by the next day, then I would certainly follow up like the next day. If the position is starting like a month from now, I might wait a couple days before contacting them again. If the position is like you're applying now, but it's a next summer job, you might give them a little more leeway and wait a few weeks before following up. But if it's really an opportunity that you guys feel is right for you, just based on the information that you have, then, you know, pursue. Try to do what you can to get in touch with that employer and let them know that you do have an interest, without being like mean about it. Like, you don't want to be like, I left a voicemail 2 days ago and you haven't gotten back to me. Like, that's, what is it? You catch more bears, more flies, more bears with honey, more flies with honey. Anyway, hey, I'm really interested in the work camping opportunity that I saw you advertise on the Workamper News hotline. I think I can bring a lot to your operation, and I'm really looking forward to communicating with you about it. If you could please get back to me as soon as possible. You can reach me via phone, via text, or via email at blah, 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 blah. Looking forward to talking to you. Thanks. You know, so anyway, you guys are reasonable folks, I'm sure, who are listening to this and already understand that. Something that my brain just said that I forgot to tell you guys, we were talking about doing the, due diligence on employers, and I totally forgot to mention, because this is something that's unique to Workamper News. So with our hotline ads, we have these two links here. Like with this ad, it shows view praise your employer awards and view experience postings. So these are reviews on the employer. So right from the ad, you can go, if there are posts available, and read posts from Workampers who worked for that employer. So you're not going to find that anywhere else. And view praise your employer awards, that's a little more clunky, but if you have had a positive experience with an employer, you can give them a star. It's not a rating system. But then when you come in here, you can click on the stars and perhaps see the email address of who awarded that star. So in this case, I could email Sherry and say, hey, I see that you worked for the employer in 2020. Do you mind if we set up a phone call, or I have some questions I'd like to ask you about it, yada, yada, yada. So when I, mention doing due diligence on an employer, we give you guys a couple avenues for doing that more easily. Okay, sorry, that was a rabbit trail, but popped in my brain and I just had to tell you guys. Okay, let's go back to the next question. Okay, this question came from Bruce. Wife is a travel nurse. I'm finding it difficult to find a work camping job with only a couple weeks notice on where we will be. Ugh. What would be your suggestion on how to overcome this? That is a challenging one. One thing that I was thinking is if it's possible to get in with an entity that has locations in multiple areas, maybe, different resort, like campground resort companies have a corporate and they have, a bunch of different locations, or working with like the concessionaires like Delaware North, Xanterra, Aramark. They have multiple locations at different places. So it's possible getting in with a company like that. You might be able to move in between their different locations a little more seamlessly. I can't say for sure that that would be, a possibility with all of them. But you would already have an idea with, how their systems go. So that would kind of give you certainly a leg up over other folks. Definitely keep your resume updated as often as you can. As soon as you know what your next location is going to be, get into that resume and update it. I did see that you hadn't filled out the availability tab, and I think it was maybe the locations tab. So because you haven't filled out the first 4 sections of your resume, Bruce, your resume isn't available in the database because you do have to fill out those first 4 sections. So I would, as best you can, keep your resume updated and out there working for you as soon as possible. When you do know about going to a different location, you can also run a situations wanted ad, which is just a 75-word ad saying, hey, I'm Bruce and I'm super awesome. I'm going to be in your area for this period of time and I'd love to help out doing XYZ. So you can get a situation wanted ad posted out there that hopefully an employer would find. And it could be that you may just want to find local opportunities, not stay in this specific work camping advertised realm. If you're going to be in a local area, maybe search their local classifieds just to find available positions in those areas. And the same could kind of be said if you're, if you go get a job at Walmart. There's lots of Walmarts all over the place. And like I said, it could be easier to kind of hop from one place to the other. Walmart's not going to provide an RV site as the compensation, so that doesn't, if you are looking for that, then that's not going to help in that regard. And it's possible maybe, do one of the remote positions like we talked about. That obviously would be flexible on your location. With the companies that we talked about, like Southern Cross walking the pipelines, or AGS, or saw these publications that do like the campground map sales, they may have some flexibility, and you may be able to say, I want to go here, or I'm going to be here, so I could do that here. I don't know what their regions are and their locations are, but you might be able to fit into their systems. If you wanted to, there's a couple companies that do RV delivery. So if you wanted to, let your wife do her nursing thing, but maybe you wanted to transport some RVs, oftentimes you would go to Indiana, Elkhart, where most of the RVs are made, and then transport it somewhere. You could do that on the side. That wouldn't be in the same location as your wife per se, but yeah, so it is a little harder sometimes to get the last minute jobs. And with the wife's schedule, I don't know if she's there for long periods of time, or if it's just a couple weeks and then you have to move again. That would certainly make it more challenging. But if you know you're going to be somewhere for at least a few months, just be on that Hotline Jobs page and just search constantly. Check that immediately box to find those positions that are open more right away for you. So yeah, that is going to make it a little harder for you, Bruce, for sure. Okay. How far in advance should we start applying for jobs? When is the best time to apply for work, in the winter or the summer? It seems most jobs are taken real fast. So that kind of depends. And like I said, it's tough because everybody has different wants and needs. If you are wanting a job in primo Arizona, super awesome Arizona, or gorgeous area in Florida, for the winter time, and you want all hours paid, and you want your RV site, you want perks, that's going to be harder to find. If you have flexibility on what your compensation is, if you can work a lot or work a little, if you have more flexibility, that's going to make it a little easier for you to find opportunities. So how far in advance? You could start as early as like 6 months, 3 months in advance, or if you are like, okay, I'm ready, I'm gonna apply for a job, I wanna start right now. Like we looked at on the Hotline Jobs page, you can search for jobs starting immediately, because there are always employers that, oh crap, I need somebody right now. So those opportunities are definitely out there too. So like right now, we've had employers who hire for the typical summer season. They have been advertising their jobs since September. So there are many employers that get a jump start, because there are a lot of Workampers that like to plan ahead. There are some Workampers that, at the end of last summer, they were getting 2023 lined up, so they knew the whole year where they were going to be and what they were going to be doing. So can you plan ahead in advance and, apply and communicate with employers? Sure, you betcha. I think that's a good plan, but I know that can be tough. There are a lot of employers that wait, and so we're talking summer season, y'all, that wait until like January, February. They wait until the holidays are over to begin their recruiting. And then we have our lollygaggers that wait until March to advertise for their jobs that start in April and May, which is not the best go for the employers, as the pool gets much smaller by March as far as Workampers go, because most Workampers are going to have their jobs lined up December, January, February at the latest, usually, for those summer positions. Again, that's just kind of a generality. I'm not saying there won't be any jobs available in April. If you want to start in April, there certainly are going to be. If you are a Workamper who likes to plan ahead and you do secure, a summer position back in September, October, or whatever, please stop looking for jobs then for that time period. You're going to get hotline emails and stuff, and other job listings are going to come up. And like, oh, that sounds pretty good, but it's the same time as that job that I already took. Don't be that person. Or if you do need to cancel on an employer and do something different, just communicate with that employer right away. Don't be a cherry picker where you take multiple jobs and you only go to one of them and you don't tell the other employers. Don't be that person. There are employers now who will no longer hire Workampers because they've been dumped on by Workampers in that regard. Stuff is going to happen, like if a family member gets sick or your RV explodes or, something occurs where you can't take a job. That stuff happens. People understand that. Just communicate with the employer as soon as you know you can't fulfill that commitment so they can then start recruiting and filling that position, okay? So you can start as early, like I said, 6 months or so before the start date that you want, especially if you're new to Workamping and kind of just getting going with this resume stuff and talking to employers, give yourself some buffer time. I would definitely start 6 months or so ahead of when you want to start that job, so you have a little bit more time to communicate with employers and ask them the questions and decide on if you want to take a job or not. So it's not quite as like time crunched for you. As far as finding winter jobs or like fall winter jobs, definitely in the summer months you can start looking for those for sure. But like I said, stuff kind of comes up all the time, and winter is harder because there's a lot of Workampers that like want to start a job like in January because they were just kind of doing other things, November, December time and stuff. So it can be, it's not impossible to find jobs kind of outside of the normal season. But it does limit things down, the number of opportunities available, or you may accept a wage that's not as high as what you had hoped, or maybe you're getting all hours paid but you are paying a fee for an RV site when you'd rather not. You may have to make some compromises if you are kind of on a different time frame, but oftentimes, most Workampers don't have trouble finding opportunities, especially if they're utilizing, the tools that are available for them. They have a good resume, they're being proactive, they're communicating well with employers, doing their due diligence, etc. Even if you're a solo Workamper too, I know a lot of solos who have their, Workamper dance card lined up. Employers are contacting them, saying, hey, we want to hire you, and they're having to tell people, no, I already got jobs, So once you get it going, you guys will kind of find your own flow in the things, and you may find opportunities that you fall in love with. So you may find like a summer job where you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best, I never want to leave, but you close in the winter. So then you go find something else to do for the winter months, but then you go back every summer to XYZ employer because you love being there. So in the summer you're here, in the winter you go to this other job, and you just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that's all you do. And that's awesome. If you fall in love with something like that, then great. If you're someone who's like, I never want to do the same job twice, we're never going to go back to an employer a second time. Great, no problem. Hop around, have a good time, find all kinds of stuff out there. All right. Moving on. Okay. Do you get time away from the job once you are there? That depends on the employer. So you will need to communicate with the employer to get the answer to this question. Most often, yes. Typically, we see a lot of employers where they're like, oh, 2 consecutive days off per week, usually, I think is maybe kind of a norm. But if you do have like, oh, my sister's getting married and we're gonna need a week in whatever month to go and do that, or my kid's graduating, or I have to have a surgery or whatever, if you know ahead of time, like I need this chunk of time off from work, then that's something to discuss in the interview process to make sure that's going to be okay with the employer and the schedule and all that fun stuff. There are some employers where the schedule is like you work a week on and then you have a whole week off. Then you work a week on and a whole week off. Or you work 3 days, off 4 days, work 3 days, off 4 days. Or, it's going to kind of vary. It's really going to vary by the employer. So oftentimes, yes, you can get time away from the job once you are there. Okay, this question, I'm not 100% sure about. Anything we should ask? We were just hired for our first job starting in April. And so hopefully you asked a bunch of questions of the employer ahead of time before accepting the job. Or if you're asking what are the questions we should have asked before we were hired for the job, I'm not sure on this one. But if we are talking about just in general questions to ask an employer, let me direct you to a couple resources where you guys can dig into that a little bit more. So we're back at workamper.com. Here in the article index again, job finding tools, we have questions to ask an employer number 2, which means there's questions to ask an employer number 1 down here. Tips for interviewing by phone, I think. Oh, and low overhead, I should have asked. These all have information, like ideas of questions to ask an employer. Also, back in the media library, in this Workamper training section, I would watch all about work agreements as well as interviewing for Workamping jobs, because both of those are going to give you ideas of things to ask an employer. But you know, you're going to need to know what the schedule is going to be like, what the duties are going to be, if the duties would change based on business need, or if the schedule would change based on business need, what the compensation is, how that compensation is going to be paid, if any income is going to be reported to you or not. If an RV site is being provided, you need to know about that RV site. You know, what is the surface? How wide is it? How long is it? Where are the utilities? Is it covered by trees? Because I have satellite television. That's not going to work. Is it right by the dump station? Is it right by the little kid playground? Is it a remote place and it doesn't actually have hookups? So I'm going to be running my generator most of the time and you're going to tote in water for me here and there. Again, lots of questions just to ask and know about the RV site. Can I successfully drive my RV to your location? We had one employer in Michigan, you have to take a ferry to get to that employer location, and the people's RV could not be taken on that ferry. And so they didn't know that ahead of time. So again, lots of different questions to ask, even just on your RV type and the RV site. Yeah, schedule, if pets are okay. Lots of different stuff. So that's why we recommend, you know, getting these things kind of written out, because especially, you know, the first few times when you're doing an interview, we can rabbit trail just in talking to each other and stuff. So you'll be communicating with employer and then, you know, you digress into another topic and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to ask, you know, 20 of my questions, and because we talked about this other thing the whole time. So kind of have that in a structured way to be prepared for your interview and to help kind of keep that on track as well, and to make sure you get all the information that you need to accept that position. But if you are already hired, you can ask for a work agreement. If you haven't already, again, that's just outlining expectations and maybe anything special. If you are, you know, you did communicate with the employer and you were assured that you would be able to, you know, sit down for 10 minutes every hour, let's make sure that's in there. So if a manager comes and is like, oh, Sally, what are you sitting down for? Well, it was agreed upon that I could do this 10 minutes every hour, so I'm taking that break right now. If they're like, what, that's preposterous, well, this was in my work agreement. As you can see, it was signed by, you know, GM or manager, HR, whoever. It was agreed upon that we could do that. A work agreement's not like a contract. It's likely not going to like hold up in court or something. I don't know if there's ever been a court case, but it's really just a communication tool to make sure everybody's on the same page. And if you're not on the same page, it's, hey, this is what our page was. We've gotten off that page. How do we get back to this page in a way that we, you know, can both agree with, etc. So other thoughts on this question? The job is starting in April. That's a few months away, as you guys know, since we're in November right now. I would be, if the employer isn't checking in with you kind of on a monthly basis, if not more, I would be checking in with that employer here and there. You know, hey employer, just wanted to see how things, wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas. Even if it's just like friendly like that. If it's a seasonal operation, as it gets closer to the opening date, you could be like, hey, how are things going? You know, getting ready for the next season. You're just touching base with them to keep that relationship going and also to keep you in their minds. So if something has changed, you're more likely to be alerted sooner than later about it. You know, we've had situations where a Workamper has taken a position and the business gets sold in the period of time between them taking the job and them going to the job. And, you know, the new business owners were like, we're not using Workampers. Sorry, you don't have a job. And they're like, eh. Or management changes, or the employer has Workampers that worked for them before that want to return. And then they're going to push you out because those Workampers wanted to come back. Yeah, that's pretty crappy, but that kind of stuff happens because it's people, all right? So definitely kind of keep touching base with that employer, just to stay connected with them. And so, and, you know, learn more about it. Ask them, you know, what's great to do in the local area, or what can I expect for the weather, or maybe a few things like you didn't exactly cover in the interview, you know, just to get more information and work on building that relationship even before you get there, especially if it's an operation where whoever hired you is who you're going to be working with more directly, okay? All right. Next up here, do a lot of employers follow the 10-year rule for RVs? I wouldn't say a lot. And this is going to be more of a thing with RV parks and resorts that are more commercial. So when you're a work camper working at an RV park or campground, typically your RV site is right there on the grounds with all of the other guest campers. So employers just don't, you know, necessarily want to have Uncle Eddie's, you know, Class A RV that has certainly seen better days, you know, towed into the campground and put in an RV site. So if your RV site is on display to the customer, they may have more guidelines as to what kind of RV maybe. And the 10-year rule, again, it's not necessarily, oh, it has to be this. It's more about the visual. That's just kind of how they call it the 10-year rule, but it's just to weed out things that visually don't look so great. I mean, just being honest here, y'all. So oftentimes, even if you do have an older RV, but it's like pristine and gorgeous and looks really nice, you know, just communicate with that employer and, you know, oftentimes just sending photos of your rig and they're like, oh, that looks really nice. That'll be just fine, you know, and it doesn't become a big deal. If you have kind of an alternative RV, I guess you could call it, like you've renovated a schoolie, which some of those are so cool, or like a box truck or a tiny home. You know, if you have something that's not, I guess, your classic RV label, again, just communicate with that employer. It's gonna just vary. I wouldn't say a lot of them are super strict about that kind of thing, but some of them are. You may want to look more outside of the commercial RV park realm if you do have maybe an older RV or, you know, something cool, non-traditional type RV. But I wouldn't worry about it a whole lot. Okay, here's kind of an RV lifestyle question, which we're happy to handle as well. How can I find qualified RV repair people or services? Yeah, that can certainly be a tough one. When our home on wheels breaks, it is certainly not fun to have to deal with. And as you guys know, it's been even tougher with going to dealerships and stuff because they're short on service people and it's harder to get parts now. So your RV could be, you know, at a dealership for who knows how long. So that can be super frustrating. So this is a website that I'm aware of. It's rvtaa.org, the RV Technician Association of America.org. And they have this thing called the Tech Locator. So you could use that tool and see if there are any registered RV technicians in the area. And if there's not, it says you can please email to info@rvtaa.org to have your information details sent out to the technicians. So that's an option there. It looks like a map tool and stuff. You can do some different searches, but there's, well, quite a few. Oh, lots in Texas and Florida. Not surprising this time of year. So that's a resource that's out there for you. If you're on Facebook, this is a group that I'm in. It's called Mobile RV Repair Companies across the US and Canada. So you could search this group maybe for a specific location or post in this group and hope an RV tech sees it and contacts you. So that's an option there. Another is to learn as much as you can about your RV, so hopefully you can fix it yourself. So this website here is nrvta.com. It's the National RV Training Academy. So they have a physical building that you can go to and take like a 1-week course, kind of crash course on RV maintenance. Or they have an online or like a flash drive course that you can get as well. So that's one thing too, is just to learn as much as you can. So hopefully you can kind of fix things yourself. That would be another option. But I know some stuff is like, there's some things that someone else has to handle. I get that too. So hopefully that resource, those couple resources will help you find somebody you are. But I know it can be hard to find somebody that you trust for sure. All right, you guys. Well, that is all of the questions that were submitted ahead of time. I can see we took an hour and 20 some minutes. There's just so much to say about so many things. And we here at Workamper News truly enjoy helping work campers and employers be successful at this whole thing. So thank you to those of you who registered, those of you who watched this video. We really appreciate it, and we hope this has been helpful for you. We hope to further be helpful. Please become a member at workamper.com. Dive into our educational resources, online courses, get connected with all of those awesome employers that are out there. Research them, learn all about it. We really just looked at a couple things that we have available to our members. There's really a lot more available to you at workamper.com. And subscribe to our podcast. Listen to our podcast, The Workamper Show. We also have a blog website that I post articles to, goneworkamping.com. You can read articles there. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, search Workamper News. We have a Facebook group called Workamping Today. We're everywhere, and we want to be of service to you guys. That is our passion and our mission. If you help enough people get what they want, you get what you want. So we've been blessed for 35 years now to continue this mission, and we look forward to doing it for many more years to come. So when you go to workamper.com to join, renew, or upgrade, use that promo code webinar4, and we'll give you 4 bonus months on that yearly membership if you go ahead and do that before the end of 2022. So, all right, thanks again, everyone. We wish you many safe travels, and as always, happy Workamping.